I have discovered an interesting angle to view the some of the math and theoretical physics being discussed today. So, first of all, I guess a good place to start would be Einstein's relativity and specifically the idea that you can compare things like gravity to inertia and they will have a lot of the same qualities. And mathematically speaking, or even physically, you couldn't distinguish one from the other. So, falling towards the earth, that is to say, being on earth, um, can be equivalent to accelerating upwards in a rocket ship. But the thing is, reality favors one over the other. They could be true at the same time, but you can't be both. You can't be on a rocket ship accelerating and also on Earth at the same time. Reality favors one over the other, even though they're equivalent. So, what this seems to suggest to me, if you want to sort of follow this rabbit hole, is that we could say I describe the mathematical formula for what it's like for me to be sitting right now on Earth in this chair. And it would be true. As like if it's true, then it's true. I don't know math, but what I'm saying is it would not only be an accurate description, but it would be a description of the reality happening as it is versus describing the mathematical formula for a theoretical version of me accelerating in a rocket ship somewhere far away. That person doesn't exist, but you could still describe it mathematically, physically. There's two angles, there's two different paths you can go down that rabbit hole with. The first one is with parallel universes. I mean, it's kind of the same, kind of one and the same, but they branch off. It alludes to parallel universes. The first path is how do you know the difference between describing our universe versus describing a universe that just doesn't exist? How do you know that the math you're doing is describing something that will actually happen? Um, so even if you are describing, like you could talk about parallel universes all you want, and you know it could make sense, but at the end of the day, it doesn't guarantee that it exists at all. It's just a description of something that can happen. It reminds me of some infinite thing. I forget now, but infinite possibilities or whatever. Whatever can happen will happen. Something like that, but I don't remember. So, but the other direction that it splits off into is if the universe lifetime of the universe is cyclical. That is, instead of the heat death where, uh, if I recall, it gets if I recall, the heat death is where it gets so big that it contracts and then everything gets hot and dies. Um, and then there's another one, the Big Rip, and so on. But the one I want to refer to specifically, I don't know if it's the heat death or not, but either way, is the cyclical version of the universe where it expands and then it contracts to a singularity and then expands again. The thing is, we can look back in time, and at a certain point the math starts to break down. Not all of it makes sense. And I can't help but feel like that's actually how it's supposed to be. Because, for example, let's go back to the rocket experiment, the thought experiment. You could start with the singularity being describing how it feels to be on a rocket ship accelerating. Like, that's the starting point. But if you want it to be more realistic, you have to start including formulas for everything going around me, the rocket ship, the fuel, anything around me, like planets and stuff, so on and so forth, dust particles, you name it, and literally describe it mathematically. And it's like starting from that starting point and then using math to describe everything outward, further and further and further. But if you go back and then try to make sense of that, how do I say this? With our universe's actual singularity, the math that we have, which describes the universe we live in today, breaks down. What I'm curious about is what that singularity is actually saying. What's left? What, if anything, is left when you strip away all the math that doesn't work anymore, it all breaks down and everything. What is left that actually is true about our universe at the singularity? What, even just one number or one little equation, what is left behind at that singularity? I think if the universe is cyclical, that that pinpoint accuracy of a number or equation will tell you about what our universe is connected into from the past version. Because let's say there is a parallel universe of me and a rocket ship right now. They're two different versions of reality. Like, they just are. They're just different. I'm sitting in a chair right now versus me in a rocket ship accelerating somewhere far away. Two very different realities. Yet there is a point connecting us to both right now, which, as we're discussing, it happens to be the way gravity feels on me on Earth and on me on a rocket ship. That is the point where these two universes meet. And so I think it's adjacent to the same idea with the singularity of the universe, the Big Bang, and then if anything came before it, what is the point of contact? What is it saying? Anyways, that's just my thought. I don't really know. I don't know. That's just what my thoughts are saying. But anyway, later.